Good morning, Facebook land. Oh my God, it's been a while since I've been up this early. It really has been a while. And pardon my paperwork stuff. I was doing some stuff. But um but wow, I actually feel amazing. I don't feel tired. Excuse me. Um yeah, last night I went to bed at my usual time, but I don't usually go to bed. I go to bed, but I watch a little TV and relax with my dog who then proceeds to get up in the middle of the night and wants to go pee at least twice. So I'm like, okay, fine. But I was up and I was fine with it. It was just funny because the second time she had to go pee, I thought when she went downstairs that she just taken a drink of water and that she just come back up. Oh no, she had to bark at me and she got me up. So my life is run by my dog, just so you know. I answer to my animal. If there's nobody I answer to, it's my animal. It's Sugar I answer to. So anyway, so I feel fucking amazing. Like seriously, like my gut feels strong. I don't feel that sort of weird pain on my right side that I'm guessing it's my ovary because why I'm guessing that is because I had what I thought was my period on, oh God, I forget, a couple days ago, but it was just a tiny little, tiny little, tiny little drop that wouldn't be even like I would constitute as a period. It was probably like the last egg that it's gonna drop, and not because I'm like menopause dying. I'm actually menopause on that life trajectory, which means that most likely my theory is correct that you won't be dropping insurance policies, you won't be amorous, you're not going to be chasing tail if you are the best copy. And so, yeah. So anyway, so I really just feel good. And I think I dreamt that my dog woke me up this morning too, but she was just whining in her sleep. So she has me definitely on a very short leash, literally. Pardon that pun. The roles have reversed. But anyway, so I wanted to point out regarding the Freemasons. Now, I'm telling you, I'm not a Freemason. Just so you know, I'm not a Freemason. I actually, for the longest time, thought that the Freemasons were like super evil. And then I also thought that the Catholic Church was super evil. And I'll say this, both, when you have the duality of like evolution versus de-evolution, life versus death, and you only know death, then it's very easy to see the dark side of the world because at the end you are self-annihilating. So that's always going to be a pending doom for pretty much everybody out there that's not on the J juice. Like, why do you say that's not on the J juice? Because you haven't done J juice at all until you do J juice. You see the reversal of your issues. You see a complete mental clarity. You see things that nobody can substantiate for you. You substantiate yourself, and people are like, "Whoa, anecdotal evidence is not admissible." I'm like, well, that's the only way you're gonna know is if you actually do it. You experience the benefits, and then yeah, you'll be stuck in one of those where you'll say, "Hey, I had this experience. It was awesome," and someone else will be like, "Yeah, whatever. You're paid, whatever." So that's the thing is that you're gonna have to experience this anecdotal evidence of jelly juice, and so yeah. So when the outcome of your life is self annihilation, and it is self induced. You are given many choices along the way to prolong your life, even though, yeah, they're not giving you the right chemistry because they don't know it. And I'm guessing that the Freemasons and the church, all the different scientists, didn't really understand indefinite life, didn't really understand pain for what it was. So that's why they keep doing these depopulation resets. Instead of saying, hey, here, do the Jagers, everybody just deal with your predispositions. Oh no, we'll just annihilate people through viruses and other therapeutics because some people, and vaccines too, some people cannot take to the viruses, some people cannot take to the vaccines, and it's going to accelerate the death process. So instead of giving everybody jelly juice, which they know not everyone's going to do, and that's only within the last 4 years. And I know they've been studying my jelly juice. They know how stable the environment is within jelly juice. They know the life-giving properties, but is it too late to now like cycle back and say, hey, we were wrong about pain. Actually, pain is evolution, and now we need to apply it with the right chemistry. And you got to feel pain. You can't anesthetize. The money is too good to stop dealing in the antibiotic industry, the painkiller, the procedures. You see how much money is involved when you're taking organs out. So you will always have a choice with the Freemasons, okay? Just want you to know that the Freemasons, yes, they do run. The church runs everything. There's a good side. I don't say there's a light and a dark side of both. They deal with occult rituals. They deal with esoteric knowledge. They've been around for freaking centuries. They are behind what this duality that you're dealing with. And even if you don't get an actual, like right now with the elections, it's the illusion of choice. Yes, so you're getting the two sides of the same coin. So how are they giving you a choice? Because now you have the choice how you're going to react to whoever's in office. You're going to have the choice to figure out who you're going to be in the face of all this craziness, because you're going to see one side accuse the other of a coup d'etat and whatever else. And you know, when you're seeing posts on Facebook where they're like, yeah, they're submitting names of people who passed away, or there's a whole influx of like, Biden ballots somewhere that was just miraculously appeared. I don't doubt all the shenanigans, and I'm sure there were shenanigans even before all of this. But since we were so programmed, the last, however many years, and they did have people who did the absentee ballots. They had long lines. They weren't afraid of pandemics. There were long lines of voting. Not really, maybe so. Maybe they had an issue with voter turnout, but still they were able to miraculously get the votes counted and have it, be out in a very, appropriate amount of time. So no matter what, I mean, it's like, yeah, I think that there's a lot of psychological operations going, and you almost have to just suck it up and say, you know what, if it's Biden, so be it, do the J juice. If it's Trump, so be it, do the J juice. They're not stopping you from getting access to salt. They're not stopping you from getting access to cabbage and kale. There might be, different shortages of food based upon this pandemic and certain things in certain industries and quarantines and who the hell knows what, but you will not have access to food on some level. There are scare tactics out there that people do use to capitalize on getting, readership and subscribers and all of that. So just realize that, yeah, there's still 7 billion people in the world they have to feed, and the ones that are going to probably have an issue are the third world countries, because that's the thing with this depopulation agenda. You're taking two-thirds of the U.S. down from 327 million to like 9,900 million. 99, yeah, 9,900 million. 99 million. That's a lot of people. But that will be over a course of like 8 or 9 or 10 years, okay? It may be sooner relative to what's going on. But there's definitely people out there like, in the Philippines, in the third world countries, parts of Mexico, parts of China. There's a lot of people that those that are in charge are like, okay, well, useless eaters. That's the only thing I could really say, and that's what some of you are really upset about is the fact that yes, they are pulling the strings of destroying the useless eaters. Oh yes, you got your book, Lillian. Very, very good, and definitely read that. And then I have my next book. It's gonna really be awesome because it's gonna clinch it all together. But yes, that's gonna really give you everything that you're gonna need as far as the J juice, as well as also if you don't have any sugar issues, Lillian, you can use the emergency recipe and put in fruit juice or fruit syrup to make it taste a little bit better if you don't have any sugar issues. But if you have like obesity issues, then maybe just, well, we'll see, because you're not taking away anything off the diet, so you can replace fruit syrup in the J juice with then the carb or anything else that you might eat like for breakfast. So you'll figure out how you want to figure out your sugar and salt and intake and nutrients. All right, very good. I'm very happy, Lily. Thank God for Amazon, right? So anyways, so I would really, if you are in the West and you are the privileged to get to be in America, to get to be in the UK, and all the first world countries, count your freaking blessings, because you could be in a third world country where you're fighting for to even sleep for 8 hours without being woken up by somebody or something or being too afraid to sleep. I mean, imagine what it's like for those that don't have a locked door, that they live in a hut where they're afraid of roving tribesmen of people who are, rapists and pillagers and trying to steal stuff. So, so you always have a choice with the Freemasons on how you respond to the current events in our world. And if you choose to respond in such a way that's going to take you outside the lines, then yes, you are asking for someone to destroy you as well as you are self annihilating. Okay? And that's the whole premise of this society now from the 1950s. I've been watching movies from the YouTube videos from the 1950s, and I just watched The Death of a Salesman. That was made in 1985, but it was depicted from 1949, which Arthur Miller, who was married to Marilyn Monroe, and he was a playwright. And I'm suspecting that he was a Freemason, and he was privy to the long range planning of what they were trying to meet, like what objectives they're trying to meet, and they were giving clues in the play, that they're trying to sell an American dream that not everyone's going to have access to. But hey, when the end result is self-annihilation, to where you may not have what it takes to be that greatest salesman. That's really what that movie was about, was The Death of a Salesman. How the trials and tribulations of one man, Willie Loman, I think that's his name, who is trying to gain the access to the American dream, working his ass off, and he is just spinning his wheels. And then how his kids look at him, and their kids came back home, and how his wife was relating to him, and he just, like, how all these unmet expectations, that in the end he said, screw it, I'm self-annihilating. I can't meet the American dream. I can't meet these specific objectives. I don't have what this guy has, and so he feels he's fallen short. He basically self-destructs. And that's kind of what happens, right now in our societies, that people are under the impression that, oh yeah, the American dream, you get married, you buy a house, and you got 2 cars and a kid and a dog, and then people start breaking down. People start self-annihilating. They break down, they self-annihilate, their kids have issues, and it breaks up the family. And then, yes, divorce happens and whatever else happens. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but I would say that if you don't have a very strong foundation and you have a lot of distractions and a lot of reasons to break up, that would be down the road. It would happen. And so, I got lucky that, I didn't grow up with divorce, but, I had my own issues. But I feel bad for those that did grow up with divorce, having to choose what parent to live with, like, choosing a side, choosing a president. That's, I think, what is the crux of all these issues, is the fact that we have to choose, salt or sugar. Oh my God, neither. And then now you die, because those are the actual building blocks of your whole body. Is you need the salt and you need the sugar, and you need all the different fatty acids and all that stuff, and nutrition. But we are forced to choose between 2 things that are so necessary for our development. And when you have to choose between 2 things that are so necessary for your development, you're going to come at a deficit. You're going to end up with a deficit, and you're going to self-annihilate towards the end. Because what other choice do you have? You don't have everything. You don't have all what it takes to actually live indefinitely, because you have been having to choose a side all the time. Okay? What about balance? And that's the whole point of J-Juice, is understanding balance. Balance with the politicians, balance with your food supply, balance with your environment, balance with people. You may have people in your life that like to cross boundaries, and you're going to have to, put the boundaries down and be like, dude, I do that all the time right now with my private messages. I bless your heart, you guys really want to know what's going to happen with the J-Juice, but there is nothing that I could tell you what's going to happen with J-Juice. You're going to have to do it, and you tell me if you're going to grow back your foreskin. You tell me if you're going to grow things back that were surgically taken out. I don't know, because you could be doing things that are completely undermine your whole process. So there's nothing that I can guarantee or even say, yeah, the potential for anything with the human body is there if you give it the right chemistry. And that's it. Is it going to happen to you? Hell if I know. That's a new animal. It's hell if I know. Okay? So yeah, 1949 was a whole planned community selling the American dream, selling you appliances, selling you a way to be, creating these, these these images that you have to live up to, and most people cannot live up to, and that's in the Cosmopolitan, the Red Book, Good Housekeeping, all of these magazines that came up around that time where they're trying to teach the housewives how to be. And then the housewives were like, this really isn't fulfilling. Like, it's kind of ironic that I am living kind of the 1950s in a way where I am doing the cooking, I do most of the cleaning. Okay, if you call it that. Well, I do clean. No, it's not like, really perfect, but I do clean. Um, and I do the laundry, and I take care of the dog, and I make sure that my husband has food on the table when he comes home. I mean, I play that part very well, but that would not, if that was my only thing, that would not be fulfilling. And that was going on back in the 1950s. Just being a slave to the husband was not really their aspirations. They knew they could do more, and then they were able to get into the workforce. And then came the Kinsey report, okay, where they were studying sexuality between males and females at a time where sexual repression was super huge, and it was like behind closed doors, you don't talk about it, and if you did anything outside of the marriage you were arrested and all that stuff. And so you weren't supposed to have sex outside of marriage way back when. And then they realized that after that whole population boom, right, the baby boomers, right after the post-war, and they're creating planned communities, and you've seen it in Back to the Future, when he went back to the future, back to the 1950s, and his community what he lived in 1985 was actually started a planned community back in 1950. Well, they had that population boom. People were having sex left and right, having a bunch of babies, and they were still wanting to have sex, but it wasn't. It was unspoken. And that's when the Kinsey, Dr. Kinsey, whatever his name is, was studying the sexual habits between men and women. And then that's when the sexual revolution and all the different, lifestyles came up to surface and became now mainstream. And then now we're seeing a lot of sexual deviancy because we are now reproducing too much, and we are creating imbalances in the population. So now we have, sexual deviance, and so we're coming now to the pendulum is now swinging the other way. And so this is why you have a depopulation agenda, which is basically a total reset. So that's what you're seeing, is a total reset from the 1950s. This wasn't really, I mean, I can't tell you exactly when they were just first starting this, but I would say that the integral times when you really want to just put two times together is the 1950s. Yeah, there were smatterings of it. It was during the war, like World War I and World War II. They might have been doing some stuff, but I don't think they really had a real major. Well, they might have. I don't know what happened behind closed doors even back then, or what transpired all the different wars. And you could Google all the different conspiracy theories around that. But I would say that the culmination, what was really wanting to be planned, came right after the war. When the Nazis, Operation Paperclip, Project Paperclip, took all the Nazi scientists, brought them to America, and that's where biotech then became its inception. Now, biotech was really started back, it was a Freemason from a Freemason guy, Carl Areski. Carrillo, I forget. Yeah, I have his name in my book, but he actually was the father of biotech, and he's actually out of he's Bulgarian, I think. Bulgaria. I haven't memorized all the things I've written, but biotech in America was actually then with the Nazi scientists that were given asylum here, and then you're seeing stuff come to surface, how some Nazis that were still here were now being brought to court and all that stuff. But yeah, Project Paperclip is when we brought the Nazi scientists to do all these human experimentation. And yeah, biotech, and then the Kinsey report, and then the drug, the 1960s and the civil rights stuff, 1960s, and then the rest is history, which is now turning into what's going on today. We're dealing with a total reset. So you have to know that what's going on today has been in range and planning for years and years and years. There's nothing that you can do to change the course of our direction. There's nothing you can do. The only thing you do is you can just adapt to it and take care of you and yours. That's it. Deal with it. I'm telling you, I dealt with this healing with my uterus and my ovaries and my reproductive system for the last 2 months. Okay, the last 2 months. I finally, after the last, like, since September, October, I feel like, holy crap. I don't feel like fluctuations. My digestive system is like on point. Um, it's just, it's pretty amazing that how awesome you can feel without being on any kind of drugs. Okay. I mean, I'm high on life when you think about it. I'm high on life. And so the other thing I can offer you is that it's going to be a long journey. I'm in my fourth year. Okay, I'm watching people that I used to just ba- battle with the last couple years. They're dealing with their own karma. Okay, their practices of bullying and the practices of just attacking people left and right. It's the chickens are coming to roost. When you're trying to annihilate other people, you basically are self-annihilating. Because eventually, when you annihilate other people, try to annihilate other people, you're going to annihilate yourself. That's just going to be a given. And that's all going to come down the line with this virus and all the things that go along with the virus, the social distancing, people just cracking up, and then whatever else that goes along with that. And everyone's turning to social media and videos and virtual reality. And so it becomes easier to be, king of the mountain behind a keyboard, and it's harder to be king of the mountain in person. Believe me, I know. I've been to court cases where no one showed up because it's easier to be a king of the mountain behind a keyboard than it is to actually be a king of the mountain in person. You have to have your duckies in a row if you want to show up to any kind of court thing. So you're going to see a lot of shit going to happen where people are going to be then taking things to court, and people are probably not going to show up because they don't have what it takes to be able to defend who they are in person. So yeah, so it's hard and it's easy to be behind a keyboard. It's easy actually to be behind a keyboard. It's not that easy to do, Facebook lives. You really have to do your Facebook lives. But really, when you're doing Facebook lives and you have an idea, you better be on the side of right, because let me tell you, someone is out there is going to try to destroy you or try to take you down. So you better have all your duckies in a row if you are doing something like a Facebook live and you are trying to impart some kind of knowledge that's based in scientific fact. And remember, it's all as above, so below. Everything can be proven relative to your belief system as well as science. Okay, if you think that pain is bad, then yes, when you're going to have constant evolution because the body wants to live, you're going to constantly be in pain. And not everybody wants to deal with that, but not everybody wants to actually do the work to actually regenerate the cells so they never have to be in pain again without taking some kind of antibiotic. I won't need to take any antibiotics. I release the excess. I blow my nose. I poop. It's like interesting. I ate steak last night and it came out like that this morning. I had, like macaroni and cheese and corn, and I think I had some of that chili that I made yesterday as a dip for lunch. And I'm really not that hungry. I drink my coffee because I like coffee. And here I am, and my mental clarity and me seeing the connections between a lot of different things, different contexts. It becomes easier to explain things when you're able to see the connections. And if you can't see the connections, then you'll live in a compartmentalized world where it's, was one thing is bad or good relative to what was taught to you. And then you realize that you're actually thinking the complete opposite in another context that would actually fit in this context that you're looking at that you think is bad or good. And then you're totally like contradicting yourself. And that's what goes on in our society that's so compartmentalized. People are constantly contradicting themselves. And the reason why is because they still are living in their compartmentalized worlds, that they were never shown the connections between all the different worlds, because that's not the point of university or compulsory education, is to connect everything. Their whole point is to have a subject matter, subjective ways of understanding concepts, not objective ways where you see the connections, but very subjective, very narrow. And then you will inevitably contradict yourself, or you inevitably promote something that you actually are ethically and morally against. So it's definitely been interesting, or analyzing that and outlining that in my book, is what the university system does to kids, because that's who they get, is the kids who are so impressionable, that don't know any better and came from parents who were just as educated as their predecessors. And so yes, the traditions of brainwashing do get passed down from generation to generation, and they do self annihilate, but they do it happily. They do it knowing they're like, okay, I'm okay with my death process. I'm okay. And that's when you're on the J juice and you understand J juice, it's just, it makes you shiver that this is what people are okay with. And you were okay with it too. I was never okay with it. I'll tell you that much. I was never okay with it. Um, I never really, if I dealt with it, or if somebody, told me like my grandma died or something, I wasn't very close to them. So, and I didn't get close enough to enough people for me to experience a death in such a way. So I never really had to deal with death, and maybe that was a good thing, and maybe that what gave me the impetus to not accept it. And maybe that is the brainwashing, is the fact that when people do have animals and they allow their animals to die of old age, or they put them down because of disease or whatever else, that is the acceptance that a human and an animal is supposed to die someday. And you want to take them out of their misery when they're really trying to evolve. And I never dealt with that. I've always been a nanny or hanging out with somebody else's animal, but I never had my own. I have my own, and I'm telling you what, before the J Juice, when she was going through her pit bull stuff, because yeah, she had a fatty tumor, whatever it was, I was always getting inflamed every single time the change of season. She would have her fleas and her ticks in the beginning because she had imbalances in her biochemistry. So, I had a hell of a time going like, oh my God, I got to deal with this animal that has so many issues. And not that I was thinking she was going to die, but it was just like something that, wow. And so thank God that J Juice came around at almost the same time, because I got my dog in 2015. J Juice came around 2016. And then it really started taking shape and really getting momentum in like 2017, and 2018 was really crazy. 2019 was like, okay, fine. And then now finally at 2020, and I'm at the best. My dog is in the best shape. I'm in the best shape. We understand what symptoms are. When there's a new virus in the environment, we don't react to it adversely. We don't apply ourselves with antibiotics. We just embrace the evolution, rise above all this bullshit that goes on. We don't waste our energy, and we just take care of, ourselves. We mind our own business. I mean, yesterday I was watching somebody. I could see there. I could see from my top window all the different houses in my neighborhood, and there's a burned down house in my neighborhood. And I was watching scavengers just take down the fencing, you know. And I'm like, I could call the police, say, "Oh my God, this person is taking the fence." But I'm like, you know what? If they're taking my stuff, whatever. But it's a burned down house. No one, no one lives there, and that place is going to be pilfered by scavengers. I'm gonna mind my own business. It really is none of my business what this guy chooses to do. I mean, I could have called the police and said, "Hey, someone over here at this whatever is taking the fence. I mean, it belongs to this." I mean, I could have, but I'm just like, you know what? At this point, if it was my neighbor, I would call the police. But it was just an abandoned house, so I'm not gonna call the police on that. That's a waste of police energy. But it's just like, you learn to figure out where you need to mind your business and call the police and do whatever, or where where you need to just like stay whatever, just hands off. It's not really going to affect you if you do or don't do something. So you just let it go. So anyways, you'll figure out what is worth you getting involved in drama in other people's business, and when it's worth not to even get involved, because what's the point? Where is it going to get you? And you never know the backlash. You never know the backlash. And so it's better to just err on the side of safety for you, because yeah, we're going to be heading into some pretty extreme times. People are going to be doing some crazy shiz, and you're not always going to have, the police there. You'll have your gun if you have one, but that's about it. And do you really want to get yourself in those types of situations? No, there's no point in it. So you just kind of just whatever, do what you got to do. But I'm going to go and write my stuff, drink my coffee, enjoy the feelings of major balance right now. And I just want you guys just to stick with it. Okay? It's not going to be, Lillian, it's not going to be easy, Miss Lillian Ellison. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. You're going to be sitting in times where you're going to be watching Netflix or watching a movie, and you're going to have the biggest headache. or you're going to have constipation, and you're going to have to either do an enema or whatever, or you drink more J juice, but you'll get more healing symptoms. So you got to figure out. And that's the thing. You're going to have so many things happen during the process, potentially yeast infections, UTIs, potentially, I don't know. And then, and that's where I say with the book, it tells you different ways to put J juice, and that's the thing is you put J juice in the belly button, put J juice up there, in there, drops in here, topically, internally, wherever you can put J juice, put J juice. And, and I've put J juice in different orifices and they've worked and it's helped. Okay. But if you have to turn to an antibiotic, do what you got to do. Okay. And then just do J juice. And then hopefully you wean off the antibiotics because that's going to undermine you if you do too much. But don't ever get off your prescription medication, and wait and allow yourself to transition if that is your intention to transition off your medication. Do it with the doctor's blessing. Make sure you're very comfortable with your position, and you just move on and know that you're gonna have symptoms. That is a given. You're gonna have symptoms, so just expect it, and don't food discriminate. If you have actually anaphylactic allergies, then yeah, okay, do that in the beginning, but eventually do the J juice, of course, reintroduce foods back in your diet. You will see a change in how your body responds to the food that used to bring up antibodies and now it doesn't anymore. And so there are ways to reverse your allergies, there are ways to reverse all of your different issues, but it does take commitment. It's not like that, okay? And if you expect anything like that, then you might as well see a doctor and they will give you the rest in peace protocol. So that way it's like that for you. All right. So, anyways, that's it. You guys have a great day. And yeah, if I have anything else, I'll let you guys know. Bye.